We are here. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Stream of Chaos after a brief moment of technical difficulty, which hopefully, fingers crossed, should be resolved. We are playing Rivers of London, the TTRPG, and let's get the cast to introduce themselves so we can see if we can actually hear them this time. Art, do you want to start off?
Hi, I'm Art. I am going to be playing one part of this multi-headed ogre thing. Probably the voice in your head that goes, "Everything is going to kill you. Do it." Yeah, something along those lines.
Can't go wrong with that. Jackson, if you would.
Hey, if I would, then I will. I am Jackson, and I am here to play some Rivers of London, a fine series of 10 novels, 4 novellas, and 11 graphic novels, which I have lost all of my free time to in the last 6 months. But it's great, and I can't wait to play this game.
Yeah, you're just a slight fan, not exactly a deep diver into the lore.
It's compelling, honestly. I didn't know it'd be my jam, and it just kept on dragging me on. So, yeah, can't wait.
Fantastic. Dave, if you would.
G'day, I'm Dave, and I will be a portion of this wizard. That is my understanding of the game.
Yeah. Well, you don't actually technically have to be a wizard, which is
I'm gonna be a wizard.
you're gonna be a wizard. All right, that's fair. I think it's a fairly interesting advertisement to the system. And Alex, finally.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I will be playing another portion of this many-headed beast, probably the teeth. And I'm halfway through the first book, so Jackson, shut your trap. I don't want spoilers.
It's entirely fair. So, Rivers of London. Then let's talk about this game. This is based on Ben Aranovich's books, the Rivers of London series, also called the Peter Grant series, depending on how deep into the lore and the various titles you want to go. And of course, the book itself, Rivers of London, is available from Chaosium.com as well as your friendly local game store. And the idea is you are playing police that are investigating magical crimes in the Demimonde, which is a sort of strange half place between the magical world and ours. And the premise I like to describe it as is, if you find a nest of vampires, you can't just go in and hunt vampires. You've got to go and get a warrant first. You have to do all kinds of fun things like that. There's a lot of police procedural involved in the story, so if you're a fan of any UK crime dramas and stuff like that, that's going to lead you right through here. A lot of that story echoes right through it. Jackson, as the resident expert, I think I always thought I'd read a lot of Rivers of London because I've got all of the main books read as well as most of the background. But as the complete lore diver, is that a pretty good summary? Would you say?
Yeah, I love it. I just say wizard cops.
Wizard cops? Wizard cops.
Cops what wizards? Wizards what cops? That's all you need to know. But yeah, it's excellent. And I think what I really like about the series is even the characters don't always know what's going on. You know, like a lot of these kind of fantasy series, it's like the main character is introduced to this world and they have a mentor who tells them everything about the world and what's going on. But the impression I get, because all of the wizards in Britain died in World War II, except for like a handful, you know, there's not a lot of information around.
That's cool.
And you've got that one mentor figure, but he's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's a lot to do. It's a big magical world, and I'm just one guy, so I kind of don't know everything. But you know, and it's like you're picking up the pieces as the magical world's kind of having this resurgence, and you know, all of the nasties that the police have to deal with are kind of on the way up as well. So it really kind of feels like that's why it's such a great idea for a role-playing game, because it feels like you're all getting in on the ground floor, and it's such a great idea for a role-playing game if you don't know the setting, because your characters don't know the setting either. That's what I really like about it.
It's also a great space to improvise, so tech and gadgets are a big part of the game, although magic does fry electronics when you get close to it. There's a real encouragement for you to build weird things and have phones where you can yank out the battery so that you don't accidentally fry your phone as you're trying to use it. It's all kinds of interesting things like that. Mechanically, it uses the BRP system, and you can kind of think of it as a sort of streamlined Call of Cthulhu Cthulhu experience that isn't diving as deep into some of the, granular mythos horror combative elements, instead going straight through. But we will learn more about that as we turn across to the domestic, which is the game that we'll be playing today. So without further ado then, I think we may as well get started, and we'll go straight across to section 1. So this is basically a solo adventure. It's adapted from one of the short stories. So Jackson, no spoilers, because I think that if you have truly consumed the entire canon that's available, you may know some of the plot of this. But
I do. Yeah, that's fine.
Fair enough. That's okay. Let's go through in our standard rotation. No better order the order we introduced ourselves in. Art, would you be happy to jump in from from section 1? And I'll point out that I have a Rivers of London character sheet just set off to one side where I'll be recording all of the information that we need as we begin to play.
Oh, I mean, there's a little blurb at the very top about the setting.
Oh, there is?
There's some juicy stuff there. Should we start there?
I
Just
think...
Or do you
I think let's start from number
out.
1. I'm hoping that our blurb has primed people enough
Nice.
at this point.
I'm ready.
All right.
Okay.
You got a talky voice on.
Please.
The 20 mile per hour, 32 kilometer per hour speed limit makes it easy to read the doors as you drive your Ford Escort east on Prince of Wales Road. We're already so deep in the UK. The house numbers count down along a mishmash of terraces, interrupted only by the pillared front of a former Methodist chapel, now a contemporary art centre with the obligatory cafe and gift shop. You find what you're looking for in the low hundreds, and by some miracle, there is a parking space opposite, just wide enough for your car. Safely wedged into the parking space, you take a moment to review the report. Verbal disagreements in the basement flat 3 nights in a row. 2 voices heard, getting louder each time, culminating on the 3rd night in an almighty crash that prompted a 999 emergency services call from the couple upstairs and the Romanian student next door, and a cyclist delivering curry who was startled enough to drop his bag over the railing ended up with an unholy amalgam of tikka masala, korma, and sag aloo. She's a sag, I think. The responding officers found signs of a struggle, but no other persons on the premises, plural, I can read. You step from the car to see an unsympathetic-looking woman wearing a high-vis safety jacket, a peaked cap, and an acid perm. She is a civil enforcement officer, otherwise known as a parking warden. She notes down your car's registration number. You begin with the following common skills: athletics, drive, navigate, observation, read person, research, social, and stealth. You also have the combat skills, fighting, and firearms. All of these skills begin with a value of 30. Write the number 30 on your character sheet in the first space beside each of the skills named. Now, decide what your job is. If you are a police officer, go to 9. If you are a social worker, go to 42. You are a nurse, go to 72.
So I think this is a really good pointer of what basically the game offers. First of all, Rivers of London uses a basically professional skills system. So there's the common skills that everyone sort of has access to, and as you develop particular skills like magic, for example, those come under your specialist skills, and you don't necessarily have access to those by base. So even if you can't really do the Call of Cthulhu, I have 1 in something, and then try to just smash through it, which is really going to affect our playstyle. What's also fun about this is that you can see that you don't have to be a magic cop, even though the idea of the game, or at least the idea of the setting at first, is told through the eyes of Peter Grant, who is a police officer. You can also play as social workers. You can play as nurses. You can play as experts. If you are a wizard of some sort, you are probably a wizard that is going to be associated with the police, because practicing magic when you are untrained is a very, very good way to end up dead. It can give you a stroke and things like that, which is never any fun. But you can come from all kinds of backgrounds as long as you are sort of leaning forward to do good. And there is that established police procedural style that insert your favorite show, Medium or Numbers or The Mentalist or whatever you want, where you're just a specialist from outside who gets brought in because, hey, solving crimes now. That sounds fun. Any decision making between police officer, social worker, or nurse?
I think we
nurse.
should. I think we should not do police officer because, as my understanding from the opening blurb, it is the writers of the solo scenario have changed it slightly from the short story, and I suspect police officer will follow the short story most
Right.
closely, and Jackson will be familiar with
Ah.
it. So if we go social worker or nurse, we'll get a little bit of variety.
I like the idea of a nurse.
Nurse?
I like
I was
nurse
gonna
too.
put my vote down for social worker just because they are like legitimately the people who should be sent to a lot of cases instead of the cops to like help people as opposed to hit
We
them
can
with
make this
sticks.
our utopia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're like,
That could be a
oh,
mental
you
health
said
nurse.
it could be mental health nurse. I am assuming that it is more of a medical nurse, but who knows?
I like nurse so we can stitch ourselves back together when
Yeah, you
troll
can't go
fucking
wrong.
beheads us or whatever.
There is a practical application behind nurse. The slightly more robust first aid kit that you would hope they have.
Just a few more band-aids.
We're completely fine. No one was going to attack us. That would be assault. We're in the middle of London. Crazy.
Yeah, nobody gets assaulted in the middle of London.
That's
Well,
a good point.
They generally don't
I'm
get
not worried about the
assaulted.
demons.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like they generally. At least they don't. They're less likely to be assaulted with a gun.
That's
like-
true. Yeah, yeah.
You might get stabbed or like punched or like hit with something. You might get shot, but it's a much smaller likelihood.
Or taken by a gentleman to work in a coal factory or something, Industrial Revolution style. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's move on. Jackson, do you want to read
Let's-
from 2?
Wait, no,
not
we
two,
don't. We
sorry.
don't go to 2.
Dad, what am
We
I
go-
talking about? I'm
72.
so sorry. I meant 2 in the
72?
next thing. Please.
We've decided we
Help.
are a nurse. Go
Nurse,
forth,
excellent.
Jackson.
We are a nurse.
You tell the traffic warden you are a nurse attending a new patient across the road. The warden points a stylus at your rearview mirror. You're not displaying the health emergency badge, she says. You're a nurse with links to the Folly. The Folly being the special assessment unit, the unit of the police which deals with weird bollocks, I think
I
is what
was
they
like,
say in the
this
books.
isn't written.
No,
put
we
that one
skipped
out
over that. I was
Jackson-
just
Jackson-
squeezing
Jackson
some
did
lore
those
in there,
stuff. Yeah,
just so
hell
we
yeah.
know what the Folly is. Note down nurse as your occupation. You have the expert skills medicine at 60% and magic at 60%. There
Whoa.
you go. It's true.
Now
Nurses
cooking.
are magic. Write these skills and their citing values down in the space for expert skills on your character sheet. Raise your observation, read person, and social skills from 30 to 60%. You may choose one more common skill and raise that from 30 to 60%. I've got the character sheet going on. Is anyone else doing it, or is that?
Otherwise,
No,
our common
I'm
skills
enjoying-
Leader.
I'm enjoying keeping track.
Our common skills are athletics, drive, navigate, observation, read person, research, sense vestigia, social, and stealth.
That's
Vestigia.
common?
Pardon? Sorry?
That's a common skill. I guess everyone can do it. Is it? What does that mean? Actually?
Yes, exactly. So sense vestigia in the world of Rivers of London, all kinds of magic and also just generally strong emotions, sort of anything that leaves a psychic imprint can be read
So
by
I hate to be a
people.
pooper, but the instruction specifically says raise one common skill from 30 to 60. We did not have that skill in our starting skills, so it will not be at 30, so we cannot pick that one. I think
Yeah.
we have to pick from our starting, which are athletics, drive, navigate, observation, read person, research, social, and stealth.
I think observation.
Wait,
We already have- we've already
Just
voted.
one name.
I think
Okay,
that
one
that
more
might
common
just
skill.
have been omitted. I believe that the sense vestigia is available to everybody because even people who aren't magic can do sense vestigia, but also it is a critical component of magic casting. So at any rate, I think sense vestigia we can bump up to 60 if we should so like to.
Let's do
Gonna
it.
make the choice, Jackson, because you've got the brain.
Oh no. I mean, yeah.
Don't like it
sense
now that it's
vestigia
been put that way.
is going to be the most helpful thing, I think, in most of these cases. We've already got a
do
bump
it.
to observation, read person, social. Yeah, I mean, I think think that's the way to go. If we want to solve a mystery, we're going to need to have the clues.
Let's do
Sense
it.
vestigia?
I reckon so, because we've already got observation and read person from being
Yeah.
from
And
being a
social.
nurse, and social.
Exactly. We have all the best skills already. We don't need anything more. So just for reference, in with Vestigia, as described in the books, you will get a sort of imprint of whatever has been around. If this is a particular person casting magic, you get like a signature or a signare that denotes their magical style. And if it is just in general, sort of like a beastie or a monster, you'll get kind of
Hold
an
on.
imprint that tells you about
Hold
them.
on. Hold on,
But-
Jim.
Yes.
Does this, or Jackson, does this setting have a lot of Latin in
There
it?
is so much
Oh,
Latin in it. This is the
no.
game for you. Everything
Oh,
is
yeah.
Haven't they been told it's a
Everything is
dead
Latin.
language?
Oh,
well. So in
Hey,
the in
hey,
the
hey,
in,
Dave, Acetaque
Yeah.
says philosophers mensis.
Silence, corpse.
in the series, the tradition of magic that everyone in the UK uses was discovered and kind of charted out by Sir Isaac Newton in the 1600s, when all of the scientific literature in Europe was written in Latin. And so
I mean, that's why all of our
it ain't broke.
binomial nomenclature is like in Latin. Is that like everything has its scientific name, a la Latin
That's it.
name, and
Because everyone in Europe wanted to, like, do science together, and Latin was like the most widespread language that they could all communicate in.
despite being dead.
Oh.
See, Dave, I was right with what I told you before.
Wizard.
Just leading ahead, just while we're talking about Signare and things like that, one of my favorite things from the actual core book that you can jump to is that there is a roll table where you can generate your own magical Signare. You can also design your own, of course. But,
It's delightful.
let's put that to the side for a second as we continue forward. There is another paragraph at the end of
Finally.
the head.
Roll your 10-sided units die twice, usually written as 2d10, and add the results to 50. This is your starting luck value. That's a bit kinder than Call of Cthulhu.
Just
a
Is
little.
it or is it not? Because like if you get something and times it by 5, you'll usually hit 50. Whereas like you cannot really get it much above, what is that? No, I guess you can get 80. No, 70.
Average for this would be 61 or whatever. So that's about.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
average
pretty much
for
the same.
3d6, 3, 4, 3.
Like,
It's
most
less-
of the time
it's
you'll
less
It's actually
swingy.
just under average. Average for Call of Cthulhu is 65, I think. So this
No,
is
55, I'm pretty sure. I feel like 55 is the average for the roll. But
3d6 average.
there you go.
It's
I just have to put it in
3.5.
chat.
3.5.
Like 61 versus
so-
55.
There you go. So it is slightly better. That's good.
But it's also less swingy.
Yeah.
It's lower band. Anyway, who wants
Look
to
at
do
us
the honors?
learning a new system that's kind of Call of Cthulhu, but different. And watch all of our
Bones
brains
are
melt.
Well, I'm going to do it.
Yarr.
2d10 plus 50 roll. 61.
Ooh.
There we go.
61.
Exactly.
There it is.
Average.
Oh, are you creating this in Roll20, Jackson, the character?
It's just
No,
the
no,
rolls.
I'm doing it in my PDF.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, 61 for our luck.
61. Okay, fantastic. So, 61 luck, we can work with that. Next up, we...
Bang on average.
Yeah. Wow. Aren't numbers wonderful? We'll go across to 81 with Dave.
Dave time. All right. The Ford Escort you are using on this occasion does not have the stock of blank badges you use on NHS, the National Health Service business. You go through your pockets for a spare. The warden watches you search. It needs to display the address or it's not valid, she comments unnecessarily. You're going to make a luck roll. Roll 2 10-sided dice again. This time, use both your 10s and your units dice. This will give you a number between 1 and 100. So if the 10 dice comes up 0, 0, and the units die comes up 4, you've rolled a 4. This is known as rolling 1d100 and is the most common roll in ROL:RPG play. A 000 means 100. Compare what you roll to your luck value. I've got big brain, so I'm making the roll.
Glad that they've specified for anyone who is confused, because there is some conversation about whether
Ooh.
like your 000 is like the best or the worst roll, and I'm glad that they've just kind of gone no. 000 is 100. Deal with it.
Sucked for you. All right, I've rolled a 10, which is
Ooh.
way under 61. So I have
Amazing.
rolled, we have succeeded, and we're going to 90 with Alex.
Let's scroll, let's scroll, let's scroll, let's scroll, let's scroll. We find an, oh, well, we, the royal we, you, find an old health emergency badge in your jacket pocket. It is creased dog-eared and features a ring from a coffee mug across one corner, which is presumably why you never used it. You lean on the roof of the escort to inscribe the address of your new client in painstakingly clear capital letters. The warden makes a point of lingering until you hang the HEB from the mirror of the escort. Clinging to this token victory, she moves off and you cross the road. 107.
107. That was a bit of a short one, Alex. You want to do another one, or will we throw across?
Well, let me have a look at 107 first before I...
Yeah, see what the flavor is.
It's another very similar kind of one, so I'll keep going. The Victorian terrace carries a certain dignity as it faces off against the new builds across the road. Its sash windows and ironwork look recently painted. The disturbance you are here to investigate came from the half-basement below, because of course it did. You study the exterior. There are no external signs of a struggle. A door is crammed in below the steps to the main entrance, a familiar construction in this area. That door was probably the tradesman's entrance before the house was divided into flats. The door has no bell, but it does have a large brass knocker mottled with verdigris. You lift it and knock. Go to 3.
Tried to preemptively make some sound effects. Couldn't help myself there.
Are you reading, Jim?
Yeah, I think I'll do one. Why not? Okay. Actually, no. This is one that hands over brain. Let's give. I feel I don't want to take too much of the chaos at this stage. But how about I throw out this one thing? What's really fun quickly is that they are making all kinds of allusions to the deep lore of Rivers of London. We mentioned before the car that we were driving. Fun fact. They have sports cars in the Rivers of London, basically police vehicle access, because it just tends to be the criminals they catch always seems to be in sport cars. So they have a whole collection of it. We didn't apparently get one of those this time, but with that fun fact out of the way, Art.
Very good. You hear a scuff of feet behind the door, then it opens and a little old woman picks her head around the door jamb. Yes, can I help you? She asks. You ask if she is Mrs. Eugenia Fellman. Yes. Her eyes narrow. Are you with those 2 boys from earlier? You assure Mrs. Fellman that you have come alone. She opens the door and steps out, blinking. As she steps up and scans the street, you notice the faded purple of a bruise on her left cheek. To ask her directly about the bruise, go to 14. To wait for her to return to the door, go to 20. To take the opportunity to look inside the house, go to 31. To ask about these 2 boys, go to 35. To insist on coming in to talk, go to 46.
We are a nurse, so our drive should be nursery related.
But we pointedly are a folly nurse, right? Like, we're a wizard nurse. We know there's, and we wouldn't just be now James and Jackson and anyone else who feels like answering. If you're a wizard nurse, do you do regular nursing, or do I only go on wizard cases? Like, are we here because we're a wizard?
Yeah. Well, although it does say that you're associated with the folly, not that you are. You're associated with is not necessarily the same as working for them. So there's probably if you are just working for the folly, like if that's just what you do, then you are like if for the cops who are in that division, they're just going on
wizard only.
Well, wizard business. But if you're associated with is not necessarily the same thing.
That's it. It's kind of where we get to diversions between the novels and the RPG, because in the novels it's like it's a very kind of small group, doing these magic cases, whereas the RPG is like there's more people getting involved. But I can tell you in the novels there's a couple of medical professionals who work at a nearby hospital, or they're medical researchers, but they're also just called in as consultants because they need medical professionals to come in every now and then.
Well, but there's also, in the later books, there's the reason that you don't see a lot of the larger groups is because, without getting into spoilers, Peter is not necessarily as day-to-day involved with what's happening. And that does imply that there's a larger team, large enough to mean that the folly is basically brimming with people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw just like a little bit of like stats in this thing, because we start theoretically with a magic score of 0. or like any skill. And we've specifically been told, because this is a special skill, hey,
60.
you've got 60. But if you were going common skills and you ran into like anyone, they'd have a magic of 0. So if we always start at 0, it stands to reason that you could, as you know, you start as a child, no magic, you become an adult, no magic, you become an adult with an occupation, no magic, and then somehow magic. So like the idea of like you have trained as a nurse first and foremost, you now like understand magic nursing, but you're still a nurse. Like you still have all of that initial you can't be a nurse in the NHS without the same training as any other nurse in the NHS. You just happen to also understand how elves work.
Wizards.
And that does basically back up the condition of the pre-gens that you have access to, and also characters in the books who, for example, there is an expert who works with the London Underground and Thames Water and characters like that who sort of pop up, and whenever something weird happens, they go, let's get the one guy who knows about that stuff. Yeah. But these people also have their main job.
So the important thing is we are here as a nurse. We have no wizard links yet. We're here to just help this person, and then undoubtedly wizard events will occur.
Yeah, yes, exactly. We have been told to go and do nurse stuff, and since there's a bit of a question mark over the whole thing, they get the nurse who can also deal with weird stuff in case there's weird things happening.
Sounds like a maybe.
The back of the book says, convinced that there's more going on than meets the eye, DCI Thomas Nightingale has assigned you as newest recruit to the case. So it is a folly case.
Oh, it is a wizard thing.
It is a folly case.
Yeah.
That changes. In that case, I think we want to know about these two boys.
I mean, I think even as a nurse, you would still be like, hey, tell me more about the situation before being like, get me in the door.
Show me your bruise. I think we do a boy check. Boy check?
Check for boys.
Check for boys. Roll for
Boy
boys.
check.
Roll for boys.
Roll for boys.
Yeah, roll for boys.
So
What do you
off the
100 boys?
35.
Check.
Boys.
Yes.
Boys.
Who was after me?
That'll be
J-Dog.
It
Jackson.
may have been me. 35? 35. You ask about the two boys Mrs. Fellerman referred to. She gives the street one last look and then returns to the doorway. Toe rags! Is that what you were doing? Toe rags! What were you doing? Matt?
Was
I
just
gotta
kind
match
of
you.
going like East End old.
Toe rags!
caught
She
me
says, James, I own the money. I've never seen them before in my life. If they come back, I'll give them something they won't like.
Oh.
Door-to-door scams are still popular in the area, particularly those that target the elderly. But this particular lady does not seem taken in by them. Look at the characteristics. You know, say more? Look at the characteristics on your character sheet. You have intelligence 80. Write it down in the first space beside the characteristic name. When you make an int roll, you will attempt to roll equal to 80 or lower. This is all stuff we know, and yet you can't read it. In the second space beside the characteristic name, write down half of that value. In this case, write down 40. When you make a hard int roll, you attempt to roll equal to 40 or lower. And then it doesn't actually ask us to roll.
Does this system have extremes or only...
No, the system doesn't have extremes by default. There are special circumstances in which you can basically trigger a kind of crit equivalent, but no, half is the functional, the higher level of success.
Well, it tells us that, but then it doesn't actually get us to roll it. And we're back to asking the.
I mean, I suspect
maybe
if we hadn't gone to like this, if we hadn't gone to this entry, we might have ended up with it.
Sorry. My excellent East End gibberish has been clipped by Q staff, and thank you very much.
I'm wondering whether we got, because all of those numbers are different. Like if we ask about the bruise now, we go to a different entry. I reckon whichever entry we went to, we would have gotten a different skill at 80.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I see. Well, should we knock
So
them
we're
all over
smart, is what we're hearing.
More.
I mean, I don't think I've ever by choice played a character that isn't. So
You should try it sometime. It's so much fun. You're abdicating
Love
responsibility
numbers.
for almost anything.
Yeah, but that
It's
hurts
so
my
much fun.
soul to do, like as a person. So I find it very hard to, abdicate
There is a
responsibility to
soul.
anyone.
It's very funny. Highly recommend.
All right.
I think waiting patiently for invite is the funniest one.
I think it really is.
Yeah.
I think it's the most like.
It's very
professional-
British.
Yeah.
It's very British.
British
I mean,
professional, you just stand
you're a
there
nurse,
quietly.
but you don't like do the medical examination standing in the doorway. You
No.
wait to
I,
come
I, think, I
inside.
think we want to go inside.
I,
61?
I,
I think
But
we
Shall
wait
we
patiently.
insist or wait
Or
patiently?
I
Wait
think it's polite
patiently.
to wait patiently,
I-
not to
Wait
insist.
We
patiently.
are in the UK. They know how to queue.
We gotta wait patiently.
But they also
patiently.
know, like, it's a big cultural thing. If someone is at the door, they either need to like state their business and leave, or they need to come inside and have a cup of tea. And those
Yes.
are the, with it, and that has to be that choice has to be made in the first minute. Like beyond
Yeah.
that,
Oh,
I'm not
minute?
willing for tea.
Within the
30
first,
seconds.
like, you've rocked up, and it's
Yeah.
either, like, do come in, or, like, what do you want?
It was decided at your birth based on which side of the road you were born on. But it genuinely, there is a like also an element of we probably just can't burst into somebody's house without reason. We have rules we have to follow. We're not the police officer, but even still, you can't just treat somebody. We're gonna
There's
we're
also
gonna wait
this
patiently.
could tee us up for being a vampire and that being revealed later, which I'd be quite excited about. So
I-
think we-
Vampire,
and then maybe that comes
wizard
up.
vampire nurse.
Who knows where
James,
this is
they're
going?
vampires in this?
There
The
are
roles for the
We'd have to be
boys.
some kind of
That's
blade half vampire
Oh,
thing because it
very
is
ex-
daytime, isn't it?
Very excited about a blade situation.
All right, it's canon. We are a wizard vampire nurse that rolls for the boys.
The vampires in this have their
Right.
own unique flavor. We don't want to be a vampire. They're bad.
vampires are
vampires.
bad news.
Yeah,
Vampires
they're
are not
yucky.
fun.
We're blade.
There's always a good version of it. All right,
All right,
61.
great. 61, let's go.
Dave
What if Wesley
time.
Snipes is a nurse? What?
61. You glance at the neighboring properties in the manner of one who is concerned about confidentiality. The silence stretches out. Mrs. Fellerman gives you the kind of stare perfected by those with a preference for marmalade sandwiches. She has no inclination whatsoever to relocate the conversation.
I cannot.
I don't get what that means.
Oh my god, I do. My mum fucking loves marmalade on toast. That is her breakfast every morning. Orange marmalade on toast. Trust me, that woman has a stare. Like, you think I have a death stare? You should see my mum's.
So it means you're angry?
So what
Or
it-
you're-
No,
No,
it
it means you're a professional, like, and also that you've elected a kind of, I mean, it's an orange citrus spread.
There
You've
is
elected
no-
to
It's
have
a bitter
something
orange
sat-
citrus spread.
You've elected for bitterness
What
on toast for breakfast. That's the choice
Are
you
you
made.
talking about?
I'm
That
getting
is insane. So
the
if
only
they were
thing I
like-
get is that it's
so if it
it's like
goes
someone
Mrs.
peeling off their thumbnail or just staring you in the
Let
eye.
me read.
No, no,
this
no.
word. Mrs. Fellerman gives you the kind of stare perfected by those with a preference for Nutella sandwiches. Now, what does that mean?
That
mean-
doesn't work
That
at
doesn't
all.
mean anything.
No, it does. Of
just
course it
not.
does.
No, yes, it does.
Yeah, it means that she's like she's warmer and like has more of it. I would say like a preference for Nutella to me.
And she's an old lady with a preference for Nutella sandwiches. She doesn't give a fuck.
That's true. Yes,
What?
she's definitely like okay. You got
She
to
is
remember
manic, she's slightly
a couple
mad,
of
and she
things.
doesn't
Old
care.
lady from the UK, femme, like a woman, and anyone who's raised femme. Trust me, this is the kind of ridiculous shit that just kind of sits rent free in your head. We're like, well, why did they pick this and not this? That says something about their personage.
No, but it doesn't make sense because you wouldn't stare. You wouldn't use the word stare. Stare does no longer
I think a
agree with
stare, that's
Nutella.
right.
Stare does agree with marmalade.
Yeah,
It
if they like
does.
Nutella
Okay.
sandwiches, you're in the house already.
Yeah.
I'm swapping sense vestigia with sense spread.
Sense sandwich. I think the important thing to note
Sense
is that
breakfast
she doesn't
preferences.
have a preference for anything with garlic in it, and we're still in the clear for being a
Exactly.
vampire.
Look, Later Kato pointed out something in chat, which is marmalade is quite tart. So if you prefer that, I think you're quite stern. Maybe.
That's it.
Okay.
And I would say
Yeah.
like that's probably anyone who likes that bitter sweetness is someone who's like
Who's
Fight me.
not made uncomfortable by
She's
what
no,
someone says.
they're not
That's
gonna
the
be
point.
made uncomfortable by awkward silences. Absolutely not.
They're already torturing their taste buds for breakfast.
Then the like punchline of this whole experience is that this affects our constitution. We have 60 in it. We are also willing to sit through this marmalade sandwich.
Oh
Fuck you,
my
you old
God.
duck.
Yeah, let's just verbally abuse the old lady who has very recently been physically abused.
Oh, yeah,
that seems
okay,
like a
bad-
good plan.
Bad motion. I did immediately
Dave?
get
Let's
antagonistic.
be nice to her before we drink her blood. Going
Yeah.
across to
Vampire.
88.
Oh, yes. Wait,
Oh,
why is it
and you-
telling us about con and then immediately about stealth?
I don't know.
Oh,
it
your
says- and then
skills
it's
also use half
fill
value.
in
So
your
Yeah,
half
we're
value.
just,
got it,
we're
got it,
just
got
trying
I
to
did
shoehorn as
just
many
stop reading
stats in
that.
as possible here.
Great. Alex, hit it.
I've got a pot on the stove, Mrs. Filliman says. You tell her that everybody is concerned about her safety. That's nice. It's my patient you should be worried about. That other copper looked all over the house and she found nothing. Haven't you got anything better to do than harass an old age pensioner? You adopt a particularly patient tone while explaining you're there to help. I'm sick of your help. Have you got a warrant or council notice or something? You admit that you have not. Then you can piss off, she says and closes the door in your face.
Nice.
Good for
Good.
her.
We've had a great day.
Oh, and now we've got the lower values for the last characteristics. So the choices we made assigned our highest characteristics.
I love being intelligent for asking about the boys, and then constitution for determining she likes marmalade.
Well, for weathering her silence on the doorstep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Our remaining options, we have a 50, a 50, and a 40. So functionally, we're just picking our dump stat. And the
What
stats,
are the other characteristics?
Strength, dex, power.
No appearance.
We're a wizard.
No
I don't think
education.
we should dump power. We just want to be the worst wizard.
As
Is there
much
no
as I love
education or
dumping
appearance,
power,
Jim?
There is no education. There is no appearance. No, it is a reduced stat list. So there is just strength, con, dex, int,
I
and
mean,
power.
I'm always
makes
gonna. My brain says I always love a dexterous character over a strong character. However, nurses do know how to lift people real
And-
good.
also we've got the con stat that's pretty good. So I'm picturing like a pretty kind of like strong, solid person.
Yeah, I would normally not like dumping dex, but I feel like in this case, the dex being low feels right.
Yeah.
That's why we got kicked
Alright.
out of being a surgeon, and we had to become a nurse instead. There was an incident.
That generally isn't how
That's
those
not
two
how
things.
that
That's a
works.
different degree that you go into. You don't
It's
start
a-
doctoring and then they're like, "Your shit, go do nursing." It's like, no, you
No,
go
no.
do
No,
nursing.
It's not a different
we
degree, it's a
got
different
into the
process.
degree, but then we walked into a door on our first day, and they said you're never going to make it. So we just
No, I think
swapped
it's
degree.
it's a different kind of person entirely that goes into
Entirely.
nursing versus
What
surgery.
kind of sandwich do they eat?
Ooh, that's a good
Ooh.
question.
Makes you
I
think.
mean, I
Surgeons
think that
eat,
really
like,
depends on what kind of
gluten-free.
like, you know, what kind of nurse you are, whether you're like a mental health nurse or a like aged care nurse. Or
I think we're in egg salad territory.
I
Yes,
What if-
agreed.
Threateningly.
I don't want to get us off topic or throw spanners in the works. But what about nurse practitioner? Because after a certain amount of years practicing as a nurse in the NHS, you could let's leave.
I mean, that
We are a
definitely
nurse.
still feels like egg salad. Maybe
We're in
like
egg salad territory.
maybe like what's the really traditional English one where they do like the roast beef and the like English mustard or pickle or something like that? Like that kind of sandwich.
Bacon
Sandwich
butty
pickles.
is the English one I think of. I think that's the
I mean-
big one.
Yeah.
Let's do
Anyway,
20
our
yes.
movement speed is 8. Do we want to go to 102?
Let's go to 102. That
we
sounds
go
like
to
a great
102.
idea.
Our final characteristics for playing at home are strength 50, con 60, dex 40, int 80, power 50.
Is it me? Is it me time?
I think it's Dave time first.
I think it's Dave time, yeah.
And before
Wait,
we
what?
go on, I'll say quickly, great picture to have above the action. Always something interesting. But yes, 102.
Oh, that's
Wait,
wizard.
did we go me, Jackson, Alex, Dave, Jim, or did I fuck that order
And
up?
I've been stepping out basically. But I think everyone's heard enough
kick
of
him to
my
the wall.
voice. Yeah.
Alright. You return to the Ford Escort and settle behind the wheel to consider your options. After a minute, you unfold the report for another look. The Camden response team pass the details on to local neighborhood safety team, which is headed by Sergeant Sutherland. You get a call on the local station and get her on the phone. Once you get past the initial wariness that most police have for agents of the folly, she relaxes and opens up. I talked to the two neighbours, confirmed their stories, made a follow-up visit to Mrs. Fellerman, and found precisely nothing. And, since all I had on that night was leftover pasta bake, I parked my own car outside and waited until I heard the argument for myself. The sergeant's notes specify hearing two voices, but when Sutherland talked herself inside the flat, Mrs. Fellerman was alone. That's right, she says, and I'll tell you, something was off about that flat. Members of the general public are regularly unsettled by inconsequential tosh, but Sergeant Sutherland's 30 years of experience in policing are as good a barometer for supernatural activity as you are likely to find. You're kind of weird bollocks, she says.
That was right.
And that
Weird
sounds like
bollocks TM.
Weird
wizard
bollocks.
shit. Yeah. Before you can take any further action on this case, such as unauthorized entry to Mrs. Fellerman's flat, you need to be sure that there is indeed some weird bollocks going on.
Head across to 5 and
Weird
continue.
shit.
So, is that me now?
Alex.
We know exactly what we're doing. You pull out of your precious parking space and turn south towards Russell Square, taking Camden Street to avoid the shuffling mass of tourists attracted to the lock by overpriced hummus wraps, Doc Martens, and spicy noodles. Spicy noodles. On the edge of Somerstown, you see a local butcher shop and pop out of the car for a necessary purchase.
So I just remembered every single travel interlude in the
Yep.
books says which road that the character is taking because of which traffic catastrophe they're avoiding. It's like
Yes.
they went to this route they went on road X to avoid the huge Y on road Z.
Yeah.
Very
It
good.
also specifies
That's-
like they stopped for a kebab, or there wasn't a kebab,
And
so they got a
it
curry.
really
There's
does.
just a
There's a lot
sandwich.
of and it's which I appreciate. Like, you should write stuff specifically as catharsis, and this is clearly written by somebody who
Loves a curry.
hates London traffic. The Folly occupies a Georgian terrace on the south side of Russell Square, a location it shares with the Council of British International Schools, the London Mathematical Society, and a birdshit-covered statue of the 5th Duke of Bedford. You pull into the garage around the back. DC Grant's Ford Focus ST, or ASBO, is not there. A bad sign. But perhaps his dog Toby is still in residence. Inside the Folly, Toby's basket is empty. A familiar ink-skirted figure glides past, her gaze moving across you like a duster on a long-neglected shelf. This is the housekeeper, Molly. You work up some courage and ask her if you can borrow the Folly's famed ghost-hunting dog. She stops and tilts her head to the side, the black almond-shaped eyes beneath her mob cap skewering you where you stand. After an awkward silence, you repeat the request, holding up your sausages. For a moment, the meaty packet sits in your hand like a terrible, inadvertent insult. Then Molly straightens her head and glides to the door. She points to the far corner of the yard in a manner reminiscent of Donald Sutherland at the end of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Go to 11.
Oh, I realize it's literally sausages that you got at the butcher's shop. I thought that was like a thing for holding up our hands in like a
Yeah,
peace
please
gesture,
don't.
like it's all good. No, literally sausages.
So obviously these are all some references to characters from the actual series, but don't worry if you haven't read all the details, because you can get the details on each of these characters from the actual rulebook itself. So interestingly, we actually have Molly's stats right here. The Molly is not entirely human, so that's why we're a little scared.
Interesting.
She's got
Does
too
the
many
dog have
teeth.
stats?
And
Pardon
they're
me?
very, very
Does the
sharp.
dog have stats?
Toby is a
No, Toby does stuff.
fairly
Toby's-
major
Toby's-
character. I would not be surprised.
Well, I think
We love Toby.
it's important to get the description of whatever we've just been pointed at to get a vibe of potentially Toby or maybe not Toby. So
That's true.
shall we, while you look, shall I?
Onwards.
From the corner of the yard behind the bins comes a sound of bestial rage and mortal combat. Something in the shadows tears through plastic and cardboard, snarling through its teeth. It does not sound much like Toby, the ghost hunting dog, who has a generally amiable personality, with a distinct affinity for anybody providing food. I have a feeling this dog is maybe, again, also not entirely normal. To sneak up to the bins and look behind them, go to 15. To continue surveillance from a distance, go to 24.
We don't have stealth.
Here we do. One of our
No,
base
it says-
skills.
It was written as an example
Oh.
of how stealth would work. I don't think we have any points.
I think we would have gotten stealth as a police officer or
we
social
have
worker.
base stealth, which
Yeah,
is
we've got
30
base
in this
stealth.
case.
Oh, we do.
That's-
Oh, excellent. Yeah, great.
But
We didn't increase it. Right?
we also have good observation. So I feel like maybe observing from a distance is
Better
Better
observation than stealth.
Okay, 24. It's you, Jackson.
Oh, heck. You back up to the other side of the yard and try to see what is banging around behind the bins. Molly watches your heroics like a cat studies a mortally wounded pigeon. The animal, if that is what it is, seems to have quietened down. Make an observation roll. Shall I?
Hit it.
I shall.
It's a very normal way for Molly to observe things.
All right, we're looking for 60. 44, success.
Okay, fantastic.
We don't need no luck.
I think the rolls are not going through the stream, just by the by.
I think they are just with a long delay. There we go.
Ah.
They
There
just
we go.
both fired at once then.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you
There we go.
succeed, go to 47.
I may. From this distance, you see little movement behind the bins. Something rustles quietly in the shadows, but it could easily be the wrapping from a Marks and Spencer vegetable biryani. Biryani. Then you glimpse it out of the corner of your eye, moving fast and low against the ground. It passes beneath a window, and you recognize that the bin fiend is a dog, but not Toby. This is a scrappy Yorkshire Terrier with the kind of face that Cerberus might pull upon learning that he has been resurrected in miniature with only one head. Go to 77.
As
pass it on.
you confront the terrier, you experience 3 rapid insights. First, a name tag glints beneath the grimy leather of its collar. Second, a dog that is drawn to the folly probably has some innate magic sensitivity. Third, it has noticed your package of artisan sausages and its eyes are fixed on the gleaming plastic wrap. You pull open the packet and extract a sausage for the hungry dog. You could make an animal handling roll to subdue the Yorkshire Terrier, but you do not possess this expert skill. You may instead try your luck by spending 10 luck points to attempt an animal handling roll, but this will be a hard roll on your intelligence or power, whichever is highest. If you succeed, you can choose to spend a further 10 points of luck to permanently acquire the animal handling skill.
This
That's
is
cool.
fun.
That's cool.
Fun way to
fun.
It's a
I
nice
want
way to-
that dog.
I feel like, yeah, and if we're like
the luck.
Yeah, let's
recruiting a new magic dog, then we're going to
Yeah.
need that animal handling skill anyway.
Yeah, wizard dog.
I would like for that to be our doggo.
I might keep reading just to resolve this scene. So across to 85, you display the sausage and hold up a finger to indicate the terrier should behave. Your finger looks uncomfortably like a second sausage. Subtract 10 points from your current luck.
Brings
You
it
will
down
use
from
either-
61 to 51.
We will then roll our int because it is higher to attempt animal handling. Even
And
though
we
you don't
may
blah,
use
blah,
additional
blah.
luck to improve it if we need to.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to spend. So we need a hard intelligence roll.
Our
Which we
intelligence
have
is
80.
80.
Means we're going for the big 4-0. Oh, Jackson.
What?
Yours was so close to the last one, so we just need to roll that and a little bit lower.
Just do what Jackson did, but a bit better.
Ooh.
Did exactly that. We can spend 3 points of luck,
Do
bringing
it.
our total
We want the dog. Get the dog.
Yeah.
Literal,
Dog, 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 dog.
48 luck.
Succeed and put the dog in our pocket. Alex, you're gonna take it from
literal
92?
one-upmanship.
92. The terrier's attitude improves significantly once it realizes it can obtain a sausage for good behavior. After a bit of initial skittering around and snarling, it sits up and waits, trembling, as it eyes the meaty reward. 3 hard-earned sausages later, the dog is
that's a lot
calm
for a
and
terrier.
compliant. I'm now worried about how Molly feels about this, though.
Possible.
Yeah.
So the way that this, do you want to read the instructions, Alex? What we do to gain the skill?
Permanently gain the animal handling expert skill at half the appropriate skill value, either int or power, depending on which one you use to make the skill roll. So we would use int, which is 80, so would be 40. Spend a further 10 points of luck, and then write the skill name along with its full and half values on your character sheet. So we would spend
points
10
then.
points of luck
Bringing us down
Get
to
a-
38. We have lost quite a bit of luck.
to acquire the animal handling skill at 40,
At
40,
40,
which is
that's
pretty good.
which is pretty good.
That's
We're
cool.
better
I
at
feel
animal
like it's
handling
like-
than driving now.
And a dog.
It's the example of like, I don't make this roll until it comes up, and then just thematically, you kind of had it previously if you want to spend the luck to add it to your sheet.
That's what we're doing?
I reckon
Down
it's
to-
worth the luck.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
hey, give me the dog.
Give
We've
us
got
a
40
full
animal
dog.
handling and 38 luck.
Especially since we do now appear to have a dog.
Do you want to keep reading, Alex? 106?
106.
What's 106?
If you feed me 3 sausages, I also come down.
Yeah, that's another easy one. The dog does not resist as you crouch down and lift the brass tag on its collar. The tag is shaped like a cartoon bone and engraved with tight capital letters, reading Ernie. Satiated on sausages, Ernie seems more curious than aggressive. You look up at the coach house window. Molly is unmoved by your struggle. She makes a flittering hand gesture towards the gate to the street. Nobody around Russell Square appears to be looking for a lost dog. You can attempt to locate Ernie's owners once he has performed a quick service on the Folly's behalf. In the back of the escort, you find a beach towel and spread it over the back seat. Ernie is content to hop inside, spraying flakes of grime as he goes. You borrow Toby's spare lead and get back in the car.
It's
Nice.
Dog.
Go to 2. We have dog.
I think it's fair for one of us to play as Ernie.
Well,
In the forthcoming.
Yeah, exactly. You play as Ernie the entire time.
How the dog plays a dog.
the rush hour traffic begins to break as you chauffeur Ernie across Euston Road and back north. Somewhere near Mornington Crescent, he starts snoring. You stop around the corner from Prince of Wales Road to pick up supplies. On your third circuit, a parking space opens up in front of Mrs. Fellman's flat, and you cut up an aggrieved woman in a Chelsea tractor to secure the spot. 7 o'clock. Around 8, Ernie stirs. You watch him closely, but the way he whines and paws the door suggests no magic is involved. He lets you attach the lead and take him down a cul-de-sac for a comfort break. No, so British. You capture the result in a latex glove and dispose of them.
Roll.
Ernie is willing to
Yeah.
Ernie is willing to return to the car, which has remarkably not been ticketed during your 3-minute absence. He shows no particular interest in Mrs. Fellman's flat and nods off again. You settle in to continue the stakeout. Characters recover over time. If you were hurt, you now return to normal. Update your character sheet by erasing the hurt mark. We could have got hurt in this.
That was a way cooler thread that we did not follow.
Ernie can potentially bite you.
Yes.
Is
Makes
Okay.
So we could have been a little nibbled. I also want to say quickly, I'm not sure if this is a British expression. Perhaps somebody can enlighten me. But in the last paragraph's description, we cut up an aggrieved woman in a Chelsea tractor.
Cut off? I think
cut
would be
off.
the term that-
Fall over. Well, we are a vampire, so you know.
I mean, I think it's just it's the same way that we say by accident and the Americans say on accident. I think it's just like the word that gets attached to the combination of like other words. So
I thought
off,
we were
same-
eroding the
same
shit
deal.
out of this.
Informal British. Drive aggressively into the path of another driver while overtaking. Cut off it's cut off.
I mean, once again, that's also a phrase that has some ambiguity because it's drive aggressively into the path of it. Sorry, what was the exact wording?
Drive aggressively into the path of another driver while overtaking.
Okay, never
That's
mind.
cut off. That's the
I
exact
was
same
hoping
term.
that you
It's
could flavor
Dave
that as
Jan in front of you.
hitting someone with a car. Let's go to 7 and keep going.
I will,
Shall I? Or shall you?
No, go for it.
Oh, gee, okay. A little after 9 o'clock, the parking warden emerges from the darkness, light from the street lamps glinting on her high-vis jacket. She takes a momentary interest in the escort, but seeing you behind the wheel, she rolls her eyes and moves on. Ernie growls from the back seat. Ooh, Ernie knows something we don't about the traffic warden. I'm calling it now. Although resentment of traffic wardens could be his natural inclination, you turn around to calm your borrowed dog. He is not reacting to the traffic warden. His ears are forward, his tail straight back. He stares at the building, his attention completely focused on the basement flat, and barks twice. This is as good a confirmation of supernatural activity as you will get, and judging from the witness reports, indicates the presence of a ghost. You slip out of the escort and shut Ernie inside. From the pavement, you can hear an argument, a raised voice, Mrs. Fellman's, and then a response, a younger, deeper male voice. It is followed by the crash of breaking crockery. Knock firmly on the door, slip around the back, or draw Mrs. Fellman out by tapping on the window and hiding.
Again, I just read too quickly. I read to draw and got a picture of like the nurse pulling out a weapon and.
We do have fire. We do have firearms.
Painting. Yeah, we are in London where it is a whole extra thing to have.
I
Firearm
think
access.
maintaining politeness. Is
No, I
amusing.
feel like
So
at this
we
point,
know.
as like, I feel like I like the nurse is not gonna go hide. I feel like knocking firmly on the door is the appropriate next step.
I agree.
Excuse me, there seems to be a bother.
What the devil? You've stolen this dog. All right, 13. You descend the iron stairs as you hear another plate shatter. You rap on the door. Immediately, all noise ceases from inside. Nothing moves for 30 seconds. You lift up the letterbox and yell to Mrs. Fellman that you know she's in there and you don't intend to leave. After a prolonged pause, you hear the scuff of reluctant feet and the door opens once more. Anger and guilt battle on Mrs. Fellman's face. What do you want this time? She says. If you're a police officer, go to 18. If not, make a power roll. If you succeed, go to 22, and if you fail, go to 27.
Our power is 50. It's not a dump stat, but we're not great at it.
It's not great.
That is a success, 43.
Wow, we are
Hey.
not
We'll go to
going
22,
badly.
and I'll pass to Alex.
Did it 22.
It's our second
You tell-
43 rolled consecutively.
Yeah. You tell Mrs. Fellerman that you are aware her flat is haunted, and you are a specialist who can help her deal with the offending spectre. She curls her lip. I don't want any help, she says. You remind her that everybody is very concerned for her welfare, and if the disturbances continue, the neighbors will bring in the police. Also, she has a finite supply of crockery. This last point does seem to strike home. I wouldn't want my Charles and Di wedding plate to get chipped, she says. All right, you better come in. Go to 10.
Gotta save the good crockery.
That's Megan. Mrs. Fellman heads for the kitchen. You take a moment to survey the flat, ignoring a chair with its legs broken and the fragments. Ignoring a chair with its legs broken and the fragments of crockery strewn across the floor. You can see the Victorian origins of the building. This flat was previously the servants' quarters, as well as the kitchen and coal bunker. Everything is crammed into a tight space with a low ceiling. The fireplace is bricked up. You have a moment to consider how to handle the ghost in this place. A magical intervention will be required. Spells in Rivers of London RPG are cast by forming shapes in the mind. Former. First order spells use only a single former. DCI Nightingale, the Folly's resident master of magic, has taught you Lux, which you used to master the spell Wearlight. You have not yet practiced enough to learn a second order spell combining two former, but you have learned a second former and can use it for another first order spell.
I'd like to submit an errata request. The plural of former is
Formae.
formae,
Formae.
with E on the end. But go on. Wow, I'm insufferable. I just heard myself. That was awful.
Deep lore. It's you.
I apologize.
clip
It's
that,
not even
clip that.
lore. It's just Latin.
That's
Can we get a
that's
clip
just
of
like-
Jackson saying he's insufferable?
Well, is it?
Yeah,
Is it,
please, Trevor, we need it.
We just need this for
Nothing
personal-
else.
for
No
personal
other
reasons.
context, just that.
There is a
I think it'd be
major
good
there's
for
a
me.
major plot point in the most recent Rivers of London book where they go into a huge discussion about whether the suffix of a certain Latin phrase is Spanish or like Roman Latin to
God's
denote
sake.
a region, and that has that's like one of the major clues that allows them to figure out the entire plot.
Wide open.
Okay, hold please. This is important.
I'll be honest, I didn't follow what it was saying there either.
So
know
basically,
Okay,
in Rivers of please.
What?
After
About the
you,
former.
after you.
Rules. No, I was not looking at the rules for the spells. I was looking up whether or not that phrase was Roman, Latin, or Spanish.
Oh, no, I wasn't actually doing that one. I was looking up what the Latin meanings of the two spells we have mean, so I can give us a vibe of what the
Yeah,
spells are.
that makes sense.
But essentially, I'm assuming you're asking about how the spells work, Dave?
Correct.
Great. Picture in your mind. If you can picture, you can do a spell. If you can combo two pictures, you can do fancy spells.
That's it.
Okay, so
We
that's
we have a picture, bueno. We also have a second picture, but we can't combo them yet. So we've got two basic bitch single picture spells.
But we've also got Lux
got Wearlight.
turned into Wearlight, but Lux
Yes.
itself is not a spell. That's
No,
Lux-
Lux is the
Lux is a former.
Lux is the picture.
So when we get better at it, we can combine Lux with something else to create things that are not Wearlight.
cool. And does
We
Lux
can
just
use it
turn
in
into
other ways, but
Wearlight?
at the moment, that's what we use.
Or does
dear.
Lux turn into other things? I know, I'm Jim or
So there's an abstraction here for the game, which actually is important. In the raw River of London world, there is basically these building blocks, which are basically a bunch of different Latin phrases, and you can combo them in infinite varied ways to build out an infinite collection of spells. Since it'd be a little difficult to create like a node graph
so
of
many
like
words.
80 million combinations of
Yeah.
possible whatever, and then there's inflecti and all kinds of like minor variations that you can put on the words words to completely change the effect of the spell. We've basically got a spell list situation, and they are built from roots. So Lux is kind of at the root of one of the spell paths you can go up. It's probably best to think of it that way.
So does Lux just turns into Where Light, and then it's once you start jamming other... So everyone has like its first thing, and then how you blend it turns into the next one.
It's like a skill
each one
tree.
that you get gives you access to a chain going up.
So you can see. So we can learn it. We can
like a
have
friend
learned
there.
a second former right now, and one of them is Impello, which moves an object, and you can combine Lux and Impello to make a light that moves around.
Jackson. I
What?
just looked up the definitions, so we could not know the exact and guess.
We're gonna have
He's not saying the exact. He's just saying the ones that we're getting.
But
they're
impello
right
is a
there.
Latin word,
Okay.
It
Yeah.
says
as
it right
is
there.
scindere.
But
Does
they say
it?
right there.
Yeah.
Oh, which moves an object. That's a bit boring.
Yeah, there you go.
Scindere, which holds an object in place, are the two
So
vibes.
the funny thing about that is that's not what those words mean.
Maybe they did in the 16th century.
What's
maybe.
the literal
17th.
definition that you found?
No, maybe they did in 2016.
Impello
London.
does mean to drive or force, which is where we would get the word
That works.
like
Impel.
impel.
To impel something to cause it to move or change.
And then scindere is to divide or to cut off or to split, which is I think where we get the word scissors.
Huh.
So technically,
But
impello
to cut
is
off,
to.
I suppose, would just mean like to cut off movement in this.
I guess in this case,
instance,
yeah.
Or while driving. We cinderate the shit.
So yeah.
You said
I feel like since we.
I mean,
were-
I guess like yeah, impello is to drive. So I guess to move something, and
Golf.
scindere would be to cut off. I guess you could say that holds, but it's more. I was looking at that being like that sounds like you cut something in half. Like
I
that's a rending
suspect-
spell.
I suspect
Like
it'll
incision.
it'll inform the skill, the tree, the magic tree, the
that's
pathway
fair.
that goes up.
So,
I vote we
for
scindere.
little peek of insight, just without going in too deeply, there are basically trees for each of the base former, and you go out from there.
Also, sorry, Jackson. Totally didn't realize I'd actually written what the spells did. I saw them,
Oh, so
skimmed it, and
dull.
went, "There's no. I don't. How are we meant to know what they do? Not reading anything after the bulletin
You just wanted to give yourself Latin homework.
Yeah. Give me. I mean,
respect
that
that.
was what I was doing over Christmas. At one point. I was trying to learn Latin, so pater familias.
Did you learn how
Anyway.
to say Merry Christmas?
No, because I don't think they would have had.
That's a good point.
They would have had Christmas at a certain point, but that was the Romans, and which emperor was the? I don't know. One of them brought Christianity in, but before then they were Roman / Roman pantheon, which was just kind of the Greek pantheon with some spice attached.
Latin flair. Anyway, let's continue on. So we
Right.
have.
Do you want to learn Impello or Cindia?
Cinder.
I'm interested to see where that one goes.
Holds an
Cindy?
object in place. So we're going to head across to 30.
Who's reading? We have no idea.
Sorry, which one were we going
I
to?
think Jackson read it, so I think it's
30.
me. To 30.
30? It was me. I can either read this because it's short, or Jackson, you
Go for it.
All right. Apple crumble has not tasted the same since you spent long nights with Nightingale attempting to fix an apple atop a candlestick while he swung his cricket bat at it. You have developed some fluency with Cyndia. Note on your character sheet that you have Wearlight and Cyndia as mastered spells. You do this by marking the square next to the spell name. You begin with a number of magic points equal to 1/5 of your power. So if you have a power of 60, you begin with 12. I think we have 50, so it would be 10.
We have 50 of power, so we have 10, yes.
Each spell you master adds an additional magic point, so add 2 magic points for mastering Wearlight and Cyndia. Sorry, it would be
Cindere.
Cindere, yeah. Also, I don't think the C is a S sound. I actually think it's something else. Anyway, thus you have a total of, for us, 12 magic points. Note down your total starting and current magic points, etc., etc. To cast a spell, you must spend magic points. It is exceptionally dangerous to spend more magic points than you have. Magic points regenerate on their own when you move from one scene to another.
That's cool.
The term is thaumatological degradation, I believe, and it stands for holes in your brain.
sorry.
Cauliflower brain is what
Yeah,
they call it.
Cauliflower
Yeah.
brain.
Cauliflower brain.
Okay, 41,
Sounds
Jackson.
bad.
Hold on, 12 magic points?
Yes.
12 magic points.
14,
Done.
wasn't it, for getting the other one?
One fifth
That's
of
been
power
added. We had a base
plus
of 10
spells.
plus
so 10
2.
plus 2.
For 12.
Excellent. 41
I
for
think,
1.
I think it is 14 because we have Wearlight and Sindara. It says.
Yeah, but we started with 10, not 12, because our power is 50, not 60. The book is assuming that you have a power of 60.
My bad.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you.
do not.
You're welcome.
We are less powerful than the book demands.
Whack.
Yeah, but we're
This is-
smarter.
We're so
we're a
smart.
vampire.
We got a dog.
Miss... Y- Mrs. Fellerman emerges from the kitchen, holding a white enamel camping mug and the kind of plastic cup that comes from the top of a thermos flask. You sit down at the table. China crunches beneath your feet. Sorry, I'm out of real cups, she says. Her teapot has somehow survived. As the tea brews, she offers you a custard cream. You take one and ask about the ghost. He's my husband, she says, the edge of her mouth curling. Victor. He first showed up three months ago. Always at night. Same as he ever was. Quieter, maybe. You lead the conversation slowly to the bruise on her cheek. She touches it as if she had forgotten it was there. We always used to row, you know. Some people you just row with. I suppose even with him being passed on, couldn't change that. He made me cross. She looks sheepish. I forgot he was a ghost. I ran right through him, hit the wall, fell over. You know how it is. You grab the nearest thing. That was the cupboard. It fell over, and I had the old Bill knocking at my door. Your custard cream is finished. You ask Mrs. Fellerman to summon her husband for you. You're joking, she says. He comes and goes when he wants, always did. You push back your chair, stand up, and open your palm. You need a wearlight to draw out the ghost. As there is no time pressure on you to cast the wearlight spell, there is no need to make a magic roll to see if you're successful. Spend 1 magic point and write your new current magic point total in the space provided on your character sheet. Go to 51. We have 11 magic points remaining.
Zippity rippity.
And we're going to 51.
Dave time. A small and very bright sphere appears in your hand, the size of a golf ball. From experience, you know its energy is irresistible to ghosts. You place the wearlight on the table. Mrs. Fellerman stares at it wide-eyed. What's that? She asks. Before you can answer, the ball of light darkens to a dim crimson. A ghost is feeding on its energy. You look around. A man stands against the sidewall, looking at you with apparent amazement. He is young, early 20s, wearing a rather nice suit. He looks like he could feature on the Wikipedia page which defines the mod subculture. You raise an eye at Mrs. Fellerman. What? She says. He just looks like he did when I first met him. You look Ghost Victor over from head to toe. Your gaze stops at his shoes. They're old, worn, brown, too big for his feet. Clumpy. No self-respecting mod would wear those shoes. To ask the ghost about Mrs. Fellerman, to go to 63. To ask the ghost why he's here, go to 93. And to shut down the wearlight, go to 101. And first, to Google mod subculture, open a quick browser.
Yeah, that's...
Jackson's already on it.
60s.
Beat you
Jackson's done
to
it.
it.
The
It's in
60s,
chat.
baby. That's your little
Give
mini
us an overlight. Oh, it's
dresses.
Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's your mini dresses and your big your boots and yeah.
Cool. Ah, what?
The amazement.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Well, we're learning today.
they're
That's
very
exciting.
bloody cool.
Well, we're not shutting down this wearlight because we're getting ends out of this flippin' ghost. So do we want to learn about Mrs. Fellerman or to ask? I think ask about Mrs. Fellerman, right? Or do you want to know why he's here?
I kind of feel like the ghost is the point.
Yeah.
Why are you
Yeah, ask me
here?
about-
What you
I
doing
also,
here, buddy?
I also like how we're just ragging on his shoes immediately. Alex, do you want to take us from 93, please?
293. The man's eyes flicker to the wearlight and then to Mrs. Fellerman. He doesn't answer. You have fed him enough magic. Time to wind this up. Go to 101. Okay, that's an interesting response. You ask the ghost what his mother's name is. He frowns and hesitates. What do you want to know for? He says. The hesitation tells you enough. You extinguish the wearlight and Victor instantly fades to transparency. A whisper tickles the air. Martha. Bring him back, Mrs. Fellerman says. You ask her if Victor's mother was named Martha. No, she looks sour. But he's dead. You're bound to forget. The back window shatters.
Oh.
Go to 6.
Oh, and that image is now what happened. That's our boy. That's
Much
our
more
ghost.
relevant.
Oh, that makes more sense now. Yeah. A masonry hammer pushes the glass inwards. Spiky fragments fall to the floor amongst the crockery. The heavy metal head runs around the frame, clearing the remaining spikes before its wielder steps through. He is a squaring, yobbish 20-something with a bent nose, tattooed knuckles, and cold eyes. I told you there'd be consequences, Genie. You can't just borrow money and not pay it back. Knuckles notices the crockery on the floor. Stroth, some other mob get here before us. A second man steps through the window with a flat cap, a bad goatee, and a missing incisor. He points at you. Who's this? A witness, Knuckles says. He hefts the hammer and steps towards you. His body language says he is looking for a chance to use it. Beat it, he snarls. If you're a police officer, no, you may identify yourself. Go to 19. Otherwise, you may cast a spell if you know one. To cast Impeller, go to 26. To cast Cindere, go to 69. To tackle your attacker physically, go to 4.
I noticed that there's no option that says comply and just go, yep, sure, and
I'm
leave.
a nurse. I'm here to help.
We chose the no, none of that spell, didn't we?
Yeah.
I don't
we
think
chose
it's
Cindere.
I don't
Yeah,
think it's
which
gonna
is
do
the
shit.
which is
Just
the
the
stop.
stop.
Yeah, the nope, none of that spell.
But there's two of them.
Correct.
Let's just punch him. Square up.
Oh,
The
we're
stop.
not. I want to
the-
cast a spell, David.
I don't want to get hit with a
holds
hammer.
It holds an apple in
David!
place. He's gonna hit us with the hammer, and then the other one's gonna punch us in the neck.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of the spell that goes no, none of that. Stop.
Oh,
We
that's
have a
not
Stop
spell
them
that
like
stops
this,
them.
It's
And then
true.
we just
True.
tackle the
This
other.
spell
Look, we
doesn't
might
do
still get to punch
shit.
someone.
This
Might still
man's
get to
very
punch someone. We can
yobbish.
hold one of them in place.
And then we
You
can
know?
I
fight
do
the
like that
other
we
one.
got the hold creature, hold
Yeah.
hold monster.
Hold
I
your bow.
want to cast a spell. I
it
play
sounds like
wizards.
69 is the call.
Nice.
Wizardom.
Nice.
All right, so Cinder.
We
go.
are adults. Who just read?
I just read.
Oh, okay. Is it
Yours.
me now?
Wizard
Okay.
away.
Well, I will read maybe two because this is a sentence. You concentrate on fixing the hammer in space. Cindere. Spend 1 magic point. If you want to boost the spell for greater effect, spend an additional magic point. Yes, please.
Ooh.
Let's go large, right?
Yeah, go large or go home. And in this case, go home probably in a body bag. So yeah, let's go large. Make a magic skill roll. Since you have mastered Cindere, you may have a bonus dice. This means you roll your 10s die twice. Yeah, we know how it works. All right, well, in that case, let's roll.
As the roll resolves, I have a question for our law experts. Is this like the rules of we aren't allowed to let normies see us casting spells? Like, are the wizard cops gonna come for us now because we've cast a spell and he's gonna be like, there's fucking goblins? Or is it kind of cool to hit him with the impello?
I mean, probably no one's gonna believe them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We
So
mostly
if
just
they
rely.
to-
them
So
It's a good
after.
question. It's like because in the books there aren't any there aren't any like
dudes.
non-cops that would be doing this kind of thing.
Well,
So it's the
there-
kind of thing where it's like
That nurse
there
casts a
should be like a
spell.
document. There should be like some internal police document about non-constable folly members doing
Hit them
violence.
with the big
It,
spells.
it's a case of no, the wizard cops will not come for us. There are
Yeah.
the wizard cops are the folly, which is us. As long as we are following the procedures that they put in place, which is like be good police basically, they're not going to get.
Also, like,
But there
we're
isn't, like,
using
a
a spell. We're using a spell that specifically like prevents movement. We're not hurting anyone. We're just like, no.
Yeah,
But I'm just making for it's not like you can't cast spells in front of
No,
nobles or
you-
no,
normies
it's
or
not like that.
whatever.
I think they mostly just rely on gaslighting.
It's very open,
us.
if anything. Like there are moments in the main books where characters with magic will just sort of be blatantly casting magic in crowded places, or Peter will be
The
with
thing
somebody who has no
That's
magic. and
probably also worth remembering is this is a world in which magic is real, and I think people know magic is real because that's the whole point. Like Isaac Newton was like, here are the fundamentals of magic. There are a shitload
well,
of
that's why it's
wizards.
no,
open
but it's
secret
secret.
is more to
It's-
is the best way to
Yeah.
think about it. It's like if
It's
if
very
anyone
secret.
wants to look for it, they can find it, but people
There isn't
don't
like a
tend to look for it.
masquerade and the rules around it. though.
Most people don't look for it, and most people will
And-
deny,
So we're
even if
clear.
they see it.
And when
Casting
police reports
spells.
are written about these events, they omit the magical details, but they, so it's like it's
So
all
we
very
keep
very
doing it.
British under the table kind of.
If we keep
stuff.
doing it, someone will be like, "Stop."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they probably prefer we rely on traditional means of defense, but if we have to bust out the wizard, so be it.
Exactly. That's fairly accurate.
Thank you.
Brill.
On that, what's our magic score?
So our magic.
60.
Oh yeah. Yes.
60.
Great. Well, we rolled a 47, so we succeeded.
Nice.
So we succeed. We go to 75. I will continue reading if that's okay.
Please.
Please do.
All right.
Oh, good, you get another
good. I
sentence.
get another sentence. Confusion breaks across Knuckles' face as the spell takes hold and the hammer locks in place in the air. If you boosted the spell, go to 80.
Go, my son.
Continue. Oh, good. I get 3 sentences.
Hell yeah.
Your onrushing attacker runs straight into the masonry hammer, literally hitting himself in the face. He goes down like a he goes down like a coyote in a cartoon.
Nice.
Turn to the second assailant.
That's so much better than I thought. I thought we were just gonna have to fight them without one of their weapons, but that's hilarious.
Go to 99. All right.
By all means.
There we go. After this, I will pass on, Jax.
Go.
You turn to see Mrs. Fellerman swinging a cricket bat into the face of the second invader. Yes! This is a woman who likes marmalade sandwiches. He drops like wet laundry. She studies him for a moment before delivering a single considered kick to his groin.
I'm
Get out
obsessed
of it,
with
she
Mrs.
says.
Can we
You
play
get-
Mrs. Bellman?
Yeah.
New character.
Get out of it, she says. You'll get your money when I've got it. He stumbles to the rear window and topples out into the night. You hear creaks and moans as he retraces his path through strangers' gardens. Mrs. Fellerman looks up at you. My fault, she says. I get a little frisky sometimes on the GGs. I'm none too particular who I take a loan from. You have to decide what to do with Knuckles, who is currently groaning on the carpet, but that can wait till later.
Go to
I
A
love
GG
that.
is a horse.
I love Googling British slang as we go. It's my favorite part of this.
I'm pretty sure that if we leave him here, he's gonna get dumped in a river. So let's take
He's
him
the
away
real
from this
threat.
this dangerous woman.
Jackson, it's yours from 110.
Mrs. Fellman is still holding a cricket bat spattered with fresh blood. She clicks her tongue and runs the bat's wooden surface under the cold tap.
Oh, come on, you don't get to do that. Whatever.
While she is distracted, you turn your attention back to her domestic ghost. Something bothers you about the wall where he appeared. You've been in flats built into the same plan, and they had a pantry alcove above a pantry alcove to the left of the bricked-up fireplace. What about my husband? Mrs. Fellman asks. Still eyeing the wall, you explain that you were briefed about her family history, and her husband left her 30 years ago. He is currently living in Prestatyn, Wales, with a woman named Blodwyn. I knew that. She dries the cricket bat with a dish towel. I just assumed he died recently. Got over the Welsh bint and come back where he belongs. You report that, as of this morning, he was alive and well. Pity, she says.
Good for her.
Beautiful.
Oh, and this result. So who have I been talking to? Mrs. Fellerman asks. As you advised her, the ghost probably took the form of her husband to suit her. You knock on the wall in front of the missing alcove. Your third knock produces a hollow thud. You cast your eyes around the room and spot Knuckles' discarded masonry hammer. You get a solid two-handed grip and inform Mrs. Fellerman that you are about to make a mess. Wait a minute, she says. You swing the hammer. The iron head goes through on the first blow. He did look like my Victor. How would he know? You knock on the loose plaster around the edges of the hole and use your phone as a torch to peer inside. There is a strong flash of carbolic, soap, and fish guts, the smell of sweat, and a blast of cold that numbs your fingers. Fastigia. The torch beam casts shadows around a hollow that you quickly recognize as the eye socket of a skull. Squinting, you see what might be a pile of other bones beneath it, the rest of the skeleton. What can you see? You look at Mrs. Fellerman. Perhaps the body was some mistreated domestic worker from the late 19th century. Then again, Eugenia Fellerman has quite a temper. Perhaps there was somebody after her beloved Victor who never made it out of the flat. 9 times out of 10, when the bones are removed, the ghost goes with them. You can always borrow Ernie again and take a stroll along Prince of Wales Road just to check. For now, though, you have a phone call to make. What happens afterwards will not be your problem. Well done. You've completed your first case file. Welcome to Rivers of London, the role-playing game. The
end.
Hey, we did it!
We solved the mystery and then washed our hands of it. I like this
Fantastic.
game.
I
We
feel
were
like
like,
we got
Great.
like we found another clue and then washed our hands of it. Like,
but like we got to the like, oh, we know what's causing the ghost and what's causing the disturbances. Somebody else can figure out how to put it to bed. Like, cool.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to do any more from there.
I mean, it is nice that in this scenario, in this like world, unlike Call of Cthulhu, where you are like, oh no, there's something going on. Okay, we've got to investigate. Oh no, now we're the ones responsible for fixing
Yeah.
it. At least in this game, we go investigate. We find out what's going on, and then we're like, Metropolitan Police.
And then we're like,
we can call. I mean,
999.
we are still sort of responsible for fixing it because we are part of that larger organization, or at least associated with. But yes, we
Yeah,
can
but
definitely.
if we're coming in like bottom rung, you don't get like the policeman on the beat to like deal with the removal of bones from a house.
Exactly, we can.
You go like, hey, there's someone. This is above my pay grade. I
we're
like
part
that.
of an organization.
It feels nice to finally have a scenario in which I can say the phrase, this is above my pay grade, and then it's no longer my problem.
Yeah.
feels like passing the buck. I want it to be my pay grade. I want to solve it.
Well, fortunately,
Adam.
there are a bunch of ways that you can sort of lean into. If you want to create more problems for yourself, you absolutely can. You could play somebody like, for example, a morgue worker, or somebody who does do like crime scene services or something like that, which is probably, with the last little bit before we finish off the stream for today, what we should have a chat about, which is getting a general vibe of characters and talking about the options that are going to be out there. Just some little things to think about. So character creation in Rivers of London is pretty similar to what you will have seen in Call of Cthulhu. The only biggest differences is that there is more of an emphasis, first of all, on your character's level of affluence, because that defines a lot about the milieu that they're from, the world that they tread in. So you will want to have a think about whether your character has a lot of money at their disposal, and is somebody who can kind of wander through the upper echelons of a wealthy society, or
That's just because there's still, strong. What's the word I'm looking for?
Classism?
Class.
Yeah. I was gonna say, strong. The grooves of the British class system are still very much present and influencing. But yeah, that's
Straight up
that's the
Classism.
easiest way to
There's
think.
just classism.
It's still there.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
We can say that because it's true.
The other thing to mention is that you'll want to have a think, of course, about what your character's actual job is. Now, as is mentioned, you could just be a librarian, you could be an accountant. You don't necessarily have to have a job that is immediately linked to the Metropolitan Police and to the Folly, but it's going to make things a hell of a lot easier if you do. So even if you are related through kind of an accessory profession, or you could be, maybe you're for example, someone who is linked to the criminal underworld, who has come across the Folly during their time, you can kind of decide what background skills that's going to give you, basically. You can predict, rather, what kind of background skills that's going to give you as you approach the main game. The final thing is you're going to have to decide whether you want to do magic or not. Magic is obviously very, very exciting, but it does take a lot of time and investment, and while you can do really cool things like hold a hammer in the middle of the air and get somebody to run into it, it is sometimes, as Dave, you almost initiated, just as effective to rush forward and clock somebody in the face. I always like to think that, yes, you could have spent, years learning to throw a fireball, for example, or you could have gotten the firearms license and have done firearms training courses, and you have a SWAT van, and you're a captain, and you're higher paid, and you get to boss around the person who can throw fireballs. The final thing is that there is also an option to lean into playing characters that are not entirely human. That is definitely an option, although I'll kind of leave that sitting to the side a bit in case it doesn't naturally appeal to everybody. It does. It is not going to necessarily give you access to magic in the same way. It does things more like boost your luck significantly. So you play somebody who's maybe a little more juiced up, but has extra rules to have to follow and play with. Does anybody have any idea of things that they might want to be looking at slightly? I'm also happy to talk through the pre-gens in the book naturally if you want to get a sense of who's available by default.
Well, have we flagged why we're talking about this?
Because we're
This-
going to place Rivers of London, yo.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
I don't think we said that. We're
Well,
gonna keep going.
I thought that had been stated. My apologies. I've gotten mixed up. Yes, Rivers of London on the horizon. So, any thoughts?
could
Any immediate reactions? Anyone want to yell out? I want to be a
got
wizard
vibes.
right away.
I mean, I probably will lean into like I love me a juiced up character with extra rules. I will very happily just be like a weird lanky humanoid with slightly too sharp teeth.
I feel like you would really enjoy being a wizard as well, though, because it is language based. It is Latin language based.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
either or.
it depends.
Like that's where you
how
get
much Latin
that's where you
wanna
get
know.
the spells that build onto each other.
How
in
much
with the
Latin?
languages?
How much Latin I would wanna learn, Jim. Jim.
Is
How
I
much
just-
Latin you want to talk
Waters
about
in a
on stream?
bucket.
Then maybe is the better analogy.
All of it.
Bet. The answer to that question is yes.
Yes. Okay. Fantastic. Does any-
The fact that I am cursed with the entire knowledge of the law makes me think I should go Wizard Cop as well, just so I don't have to play too dumb.
That sounds good. There's also a fantastic pre-gen character, Eli Venturini, who is a lecturer. And I like that archetype because this character has no magic, but knows everything about magic. And it's a little, sort of a little bit like, so he's a Newtonian scholar, but as in like actually just a historian.
I dig that.
Yeah, and
I think
also
also knowing how the magic works for Jackson is really cool. For
exactly, and often like not being able to
players,
do it, but having to explain to the dumb wizards who don't know the history of the thing, like what they should be doing, because this is actually how it works.
Unless, that's pulling at heartstrings.
That's very funny to me. Like the idea of like if no one else wants to do wizard to come in as like a magic casting person who has no like knowledge about how it works is just like, hey, there are pictures in my brain and I get to do a cool thing. And I feel like that would be delightfully infuriating to someone who's like, I know everything about magic and cannot cast. Like that combo could be quite fun.
To give some more insight into other archetypes, just to mention quickly, the pre-gens that are offered, you've got a by-the-book magic cop, a character called Nafisa Jones, who is also a young mum. You've got a character called Morgan Omens, who is a sort of hedge wizard, somebody who didn't learnt magic a little bit outside, but has matriculated into the folly after finding out about it. There's Eli Venturini, I mentioned the lecturer. There is a doctor. There is a character with a criminal underworld attachment background, and there is an aspiring songwriter. So these are all people that could appear. The songwriter works in data entry for the Metropolitan Police, which is how that links them into the main story.
But their occupation is linked as songwriter and not
aspiring,
data
not
entry.
songwriter, aspiring.
Technically, they're an
Really?
entertainer. Is that they're writing songs and they're looking for their big break. And while they do that, they're doing data entry for the Metropolitan Police. But that doesn't define who they are. Deep down, they're a songwriter.
I love that.
Do you have a
But
vibe,
it sounds like
Alex?
you're saying that we can come up with
Yeah. If
fully
anyone has
generated
any sort
ones
of
as well.
final questions or like guiding things, anything you want to talk about before we finish off here towards those final details?
You have a vibe, Alex?
I'm leaning towards somebody who is either like a kind of almost an outsider who's like elbowed their way in. So somebody either with the criminal underground connections or somebody who's just like kind of a believer and an annoyance. Like a deeply annoying believer who kind
Wait.
of just like a photographer or something who just shows up in like a paranormal
photog's
photographer or something.
fun.
Yeah,
Could we-
like one
we
of those
have-
assholes or somebody or one of the non-human
I'm thinking of the
things.
conspiracy.
Can I make a
theorists that you played in
suggestion?
Cult of
Conspiracy,
Cthulhu.
like conspiracy theory, yeah, or one of the non-human things. I don't know. I'd have to have a look at them a bit more because I haven't really seen.
Can I make a suggestion on if you want to play like that type, the like person, like kind of fanatical, like conspiracy theorist person?
Not really fanatical, just
Sorry,
like
yeah,
enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Not really conspiracy theory, more just like
Because it's not a conspiracy.
Yeah.
more just like enthusiasm, not like the government's not telling us stuff sort of thing. More of like a go surreal hippy dippy crystal healing believer.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Just it would be very funny if
Or like your
if we did have the
paranormal photographer.
lecturer if you were one, like if it was one of the students of the lecturer who was like, oh shit, I know like a lot of stuff, but I really want to be involved, but also like comes at it from a completely different
Are
angle.
you thinking more like more older, not university studenty?
Chad is suggesting bloke who runs a curry shop, which I think is pretty
Nice.
pretty great.
That'd be great.
The other thing, well, since you were talking about the like the conspiracy theorists who wants to know about magic and what's really going on, the fun thing in the novels, a common like trope and archetype that keeps coming up, is the police officer who really doesn't want to know.
Yeah.
Like every
Yeah,
time the
flip
Folly has to
side of that.
interact
Yeah,
with
they're like-
another police unit, they're like, "Oh no, it's the Folly. I'm not involved in this. Don't look at me too
Yeah,
long."
you're gonna ruin my
Because
career.
they don't want to get involved. They don't want to know. They know the Folly is like, stupid, weird bollocks cases. They know that if their station gets the case, it's going to tank their clear up rate and it's going to drive up their budget. And then they also know that as soon as like you work with the Folly on one case, your entire
Yeah.
unit goes, "Oh, you're the Folly liaison. So you're going to work on all the Folly cases
get all
anytime
of
they
the
come
shit."
past us." So it's this fun kind of, it's this fun opposite of, wanting to know the truth and desperately
awesome.
trying to avoid looking at it.
And the final point I'll quickly raise is that since this is a modern day, basically, it's technically set a little before the absolute present, but you are still in the technology age. Playing somebody who has access to, like cameras, computers, and has the skills to use them properly, you can be pretty creative in how that's going to work. Now, of course, if anyone casts spells around them, they're going to go bust. But that it's still a pretty powerful tool.
Well, they're switched on.
Yes,
They're switched
that's true.
phones
If
off.
they're turned off, it's fine. But unfortunately, most things aren't really turned off unless you take the battery out, which is why they have
And
the
you can't even
phones where you
take
can-
batteries out of most phones these days.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very strongly drawn to Magic Dog. I think I don't necessarily cast magic, but I just want to be an intelligent dog. I think like there seems like such a trope throughout the series and stuff, and I think it'd be fun to be like, I get to go along with you guys. I don't talk and use technology, but then I can also pursue clues a bit more blatantly because I'm just a dog. And like I think intelligent enough that I can get
love that.
insight across you guys, lead you to things. I can go chasing down after the burglar who gets away and grab them and drag them back. And you guys are like, oh, the dog, da 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 da.
Is this
I
a
think
thing?
would be
I've
really
only...
fun.
So I've read all the novels. I've only skimmed the RPG.
Oh, I don't know. There's some dog-
Magic
there
Dog's
are
a thing?
one.
There
Oh, no,
are,
I'll just
as you can
stat
see
it
in
as a
the,
person, and I'll just not talk.
if you can see that the foxes are a major aspect of the game, and the example of play actually, if you read at the start of the book, there is actually a fox playing at the table.
there?
I'll have to have a detailed look through the rule book.
I think
but
mechanically, I just be I'm a person, and
Yeah.
I just won't roll drive auto or use phone. And maybe Jim, you just let me have a bit more in like brawl and survival and some tracking.
I
stuff.
think we
I
should
can flavor it
If
really
there's-
easily.
we'd be able to figure something
That's
like
doable.
that out.
I mean, if there's stats to play a fox, just skin the fox as a dog.
Yeah, or I'll
Yeah.
reskin
Oh
it
no,
first. I'd say it'd be hard to-
the talking foxes are this whole like
Oh,
society.
I'm not looking to talk. I just want to be. You said like dogs are sensitive to
Mm-hmm.
vestigia. Like I just have a high sense skill, high read person. It's vibe check. It's like, oh, the dog doesn't like him, and I'll narrate it more third person for my character. The dog reacts in this way.
I can
yada.
definitely imagine something like that working. I think we're about at the point where we'll call things off. So that is the domestic, which again you can go and pick up right now and play yourself and pick police officer or social worker or try and fight the people that jump in and end up in a desperate battle for your life, which is what happened to me during one of the test plays I did. Going, oh my god, this is brutal.
Or get bit by the dog.
Yeah, exactly. Check out more of Rivers of London, chaosium.com. Thank you to Roll20, which we have used to improve our game here. Thank you to all of the cast, to Art, to Jackson, to Dave, to Alex. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you, guys.
And we will be back next week with more Rivers of London.
All right.
Thanks very much, everyone.